This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team. The final score, Wrexham 1, Maidenhead United 0. Ooh, the relief. At last, the drought is over. 5 defeats in a row stopped. 5 games without a goal halted. That is a relief. When that goal went in from Luke Young in the second half, it entered 557 minutes without a goal. Only twice in our history have we had longer runs of games without scoring, and we were only 2 games short of equaling that club record. Thank heavens we didn't. But it was a deserved win and a massively dominant performance. In fact, I've got to say this is a bit of a rarity in a Final Whistle podcast, because I've got a note in front of me which I sometimes refer to how I split the page in half and note our chances on one half and Maidenhead on the other. Well, don't hold your breath as you're waiting for chances against Wrexham, because that was one of the easiest clean sheets we've ever kept. Quite frankly, I've written nothing down for Maidenhead, so a procession of Wrexham chances awaits you. Brace yourselves. Interestingly, and many would have thought controversially before the game, there weren't too many changes on the side that lost at Fylde. There was a change at left back, Mark Harrington making way for James Jennings, and there was a change in the attack, but not maybe what we would have anticipated. Rakeal Pike coming in was no great surprise. Since he came back from injury, he's looked lively with his 2 substitute appearances. He came in though for Bobby Grant, which is maybe a slight surprise. Grant might have fancied a chance on the right hand side to cut in and run at the defence in a more attacking approach from the team, but it was indeed he who made way. Pike would go on to have a magnificent game, and spoiler alert, was one of the easiest man of the match decisions that we've had for a long time. Wrexham started positively. Within 2 minutes, had an opportunity. Summerfield drifting over to the right-hand side in midfield quite a lot and linking with Rutherford, whose movement was very good, was causing problems. Rutherford with excellent feet under pressure to sort the ball out and poke it down the line. Summerfield had gone up ahead of him. He whipped in a cross, and Pike, attacking it 6 yards out, just couldn't quite arrive in time. He got his head to it, but he couldn't control the header, and it went wide of goal. But even in the early stages, you could see that Pike was going to trouble the right-back of Foley Tomasi. He was stronger than him, he was better than the air, and he was much quicker than him, and a tough evening awaited for the right back. Within the first 10 minutes, another opportunity. Nice work by Summerfield, spreading the ball out to Pike, who had the fullback isolated. He beat the fullback, and from a tight angle on the corner of the 6-yard box, lashed at it, looking for the top right corner. Got a lot of power on it, couldn't quite pull it back on target though, and it went behind for the goal kick. Then somebody will do a free kick, which was half cleared. Bevan did tremendously, 10 yards out to stretch for a high bouncing ball and controlled his volley, putting it on target. A great save by Carl Pentley, high to his left. He just about managed to lunge across and claw it away. Great keeping. And a couple of minutes later, another opportunity when Wrexham, with an excellent breakaway, released Roberts on the right hand side. Frustration as he filled it back into the goal mouth, that it was well intercepted and didn't drop to Bevan. However, after that opening 15-minute salvo, beg me for a second. Pardon me, I'm a bit under the weather today, sorry. Maidenhead started to slow down the tempo of the game. It's got to be said, there was a really weak performance by the referee, Gareth Rhodes, who seemed really comfortable with time wasting. I must admit, I'd already turned against him a touch, because he does one of my little pet hates from referees. When Wrexham had a breakaway, Pike getting the ball in the left-back position, surging at the pitch. Odumaty immediately came across and pulled at his shirt, trying to foul him, failed to do so. Pike got away from him. Pike ran 50 yards. And Odumaty chased him all the way, grabbed him and pulled him back, and finally did succeed in fouling him, and the ref didn't buck him. And it was a classic example of, oh well, it's in the first 10 minutes of the game, so I'm just going to ignore the rules of football and not give a yellow card, when the fact of the matter is he had 2 attempts at pulling the shirt to stop a dangerous breakaway. That's a yellow card. I don't care what point in the game it's at. It got me more irked when Young was booked in the second half for a foul to stop a breakaway. I'm not saying that wasn't a yellow card. I am saying that it's a little unlucky that at one point in the game it is and another point there isn't. Anyway, the referee had a weak game in that respect, and also a weak game in terms of clamping down on time wasting. Maidenhead's time wasting was a bit obvious, I've got to be honest, and it started after about the 15-minute mark. They really started to slow things down around set pieces. I do not blame Maidenhead United at all for that, I've got to say. If you come across a referee who's going to let you get away with it, you try to get away with it. I don't blame them in the slightest, but astounding that he didn't book anybody for time wasting during the match, but he did, and he only added 6 minutes of added time across the whole match, considering the fact there were physios on a few times as well, and that's Maidenhead's approach worked. The tempo of the game slowed down considerably. Wrexham found themselves struggling to get at Maidenhead in quite the way that they were, and the rest of the first half sort of meandered until the closing stages. There were only occasional opportunities. A good breakaway ended in Summerfield ripping across, which Pentley punched in the air, but the scramble was cleared. There was another scramble about 10 minutes before the break, which didn't really come to anything, and then Wrexham frustratingly lost Summerfield to injury. He had to go off. Luke Young came on, and we were a little worried as Summerfield was maybe the most creative option Wrexham had going forwards, whether that would be a big loss. Soon after he went off, Wrexham thought they'd made the breakthrough mind. Rutherford ripping in a great cross. Bevan 10 yards out, a tremendous snap header. Pentley again did brilliantly, lunging low to his right this time to push it clear. Pike followed it up and slammed it into the empty net, but the celebrations were caught short by the offside flag. Second half, Wrexham came out and it was so dominant. I mean, the first half Wrexham were on top, and the second half Wrexham managed to get that tempo going again. They maintained it throughout, and Maidenhead barely got over the halfway line, in all honesty. They started threatening early on with a decent shout for a penalty. Rutherford winning the ball back on the right-hand side of the box, as he did regularly, popping it inside. Bevan with a good first-time return ball. Rutherford tried to run onto it. He was blatantly body-checked. I must admit, in commentary, I maybe saw it more as obstruction than a foul, a penalty, but it's a foul. Definitely, Rutherford would have run onto it. The Maidenhead player made no attempt to play the ball and blocked him off. Amazingly, the referee and the linesman who was on the same side of the pitch, neither of them gave anything, and Wrexham were frustrated. But called it in commentary, and I stand by it now. The referee did feel like he was never ever going to make a big decision. Wrexham would have another penalty shout later on when Young swept in a free kick. Pearson, jumping 6 yards out, had hands all over him, but nothing was given. Anyway, Wrexham continued to press and make pressure. Good ball by Young, found Pike on the left-hand side. Every time Pike was isolated against Ofori Tomasi, there was a problem for Maidenhead. He cut inside on his right foot on the corner of the box, trying to rip it into the top right corner, and couldn't quite bring it down quickly enough. Then it was Jennings, and Jennings was excellent in the second half, coming forwards and linking with Pike, coming into a central position and driving a powerful shot, which was deflected just wide of the left post. Wrexham incandescent when they found the referee pointing for a goal kick rather than a corner. Then a free kick into the box. Pearson getting up, nodding it down. Nice interplay between Bevan and Young. Released Pike again, isolated in the box down the left-hand side against Ofori Tomasi. This time he went round the outside of him and drove a shot across the keeper, which went just wide of the right post. So Wrexham really knocking on the door. The tempo's excellent. They couldn't quite force a breakthrough until it finally came, with all the relief that came with it in the 65th minute. There was lovely build-up play between Jennings and Pike once more. Jennings got the ball 35 yards out and waited intelligently for Pike to make his run behind Ofori Tomasi. Jennings waited the pass as well as timed the pass to perfection behind the fullback. Pike ran in behind, hit the goal line, pulled it back intelligently. Young with a glorious chance. I must admit, I was worried he'd missed it. He drilled it, and the keeper lunging across to his left got good hands on it, but could only push it inside the net. What a relief for Wrexham. Young slid on his knees in celebration in front of the ecstatic fans. At last the drought was over, and Wrexham didn't back off. They kept going. 4 minutes later, Young with a really good interception in the opposing half. By this point, Oswell had come on for Bevan, and he, on the edge of the area, did really well as it bounced in front of him to take on a snapshot. Just couldn't quite pull it on target, just wide of the right post. But Oswald going to have a good little cameo up front. Ofori Tomasi then had, for me, a bit of a lucky escape. He'd been bucked, and then soon afterwards fell and rugby tackled a Wrexham player. I think he did slip, so maybe that went in his favour. But in that case, don't give a foul if he just slipped and accidentally fell and wiped out a Wrexham player. But he did clear him out. And Tomasi very lucky not to get sent off. I say that, maybe he was hoping to get sent off because he would continue to suffer. A couple of minutes later, more pressure down his side led to a goal-mouth scramble, but Wrexham couldn't force the ball into the net. Then it was Wright feeding in Pike once again, who cut inside dangerously. He beat Tomasi, beat another man, but his shot from the edge of the area was blocked. Wright then go himself driving up a shot when he found himself in space on the edge of the D. A really good block to deny him. And Wrexham would have one final opportunity when Pearson lofted in a free kick, and Oswald did ever so well backing into his man while losing balance to take it on the chest, and as he fell, pivoted and hit a shot. An easy save, as it turned out, but Wrexham certainly would have been pleased, I think, with Roswell's cameo, because he came on and made the ball stick up front and troubled the centre-backs, and Eddie would have been pleased with the performance across the pitch. A win, a big win, and a goal. The way things have been going lately, all goals are big goals. Very, very pleasing for Wrexham, and victory to keep that promotion push going. For further analysis, have a listen to what Colin Henrys and I had to say after the match on Calon FM. This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team. It's a throw into Maidenhead, and it's about 25 yards out. They wanted Conley to take it. I think he's exhausted, and he doesn't. Thrown into the edge area, poor throw by Steer, headed away. Holroyd has it. He can start to break away if he wants to. Referee's still playing on. Holroyd beats his man. Great work. Then gives it away in a dangerous part of the pitch, but he fights ever so well to win it back, and he's fouled, and that is a final whistle. And the celebrations when the players walk with it, both fists in the air, shows what this means. This is a huge result for Wrexham. They needed that in order to get their momentum going again, and they've done exactly that. Wrexham beat Maidenhead 1-0, and Colin, well, it's credit to the side. You still worry where the goals might come from, but we actually put a lot of pressure on them and created plenty of chances.
I think that's the thing, yeah, not only is it a win, it's a deserved one. It is only 1-0 at the end of the day, but we've finally broken that drought. We've got back to winning ways, a clean sheet as well. All these things that weren't happening all of a sudden have happened again. It was absolutely deserved. Wrexham have created chances and Maidenhead haven't. They've had not a sniff out of Lawler and Pearson, and in all fairness, Jennings and Roberts as well, for all my criticism of Roberts at the start of the game.
And in the second half, I mean, quite frankly, that was as dominant a half as you'd see. Only one goal in it, admittedly, but as I said, 82nd minute, Maidenhead got bodies in the box, and genuinely felt it the first time they'd really got any bodies in Wrexham's half at all. Yeah, in the second half, though.
Yeah, in the second half, certainly. Wrexham just drove the pace and they kept driving it. That was the impressive thing. They didn't go 1-0 in front and then sit back. They kept attacking. James Jennings kept making those runs. We said Paul Rufford was all over the pitch. It's been fantastic. And it's how dynamic Rakeel Pike was on that left-hand side has made a difference. I think him offering that tempo meant that other players were able to put the big shifts in around him, because they knew that there was going to be a player there to feed to and to feed off as well.
And we recovered well from losing Summerfield, who was looked our most creative player while he was on the pitch, and in fact Young coming on put in a really good shift, didn't he?
Yeah, fantastic shift. As we said at the time, he was a very different type of midfield player to Summerfield, but he played to his strengths well. That's running around. He made plenty of interceptions as well. He might not have this killer pass that Summerfield does, but he broke up attacks, promising counter-attacks, and he was happy to drive at the defenders. And again, that's something that brought Pike into the game. When Oswald came on as well, it's something that brought Oswald into the game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Oswald put in a nice little cameo. Man of the match call, when you've got an obvious option if you want to take it.
Yeah, well, the sponsors have gone with it as well. I noticed Rakeel Pike was absolutely outstanding. I have to give a mention to James Jennings as well. The two of them worked in tandem really well on that left-hand side. And Brad Walker too. You've mentioned his passing has been a weakness at times, but his defensive work's unquestionable. I think he's been fantastic, and he did that. He covered well going back, and he again was another one that's happy to drive forward. He's a player that has a lot of clever little touches. He'll have his back to goal, just with one little shimmy, one little touch, he'll take players out of it. But no question, Rakeel Pike was man of the match today.
Oh, Pike was terrific, wasn't he? He destroyed the fullback, and like I said, the combination was good with Jennings. But there were a lot of good performances across the park. It was a nice grooved performance, and I'm just thinking, I looked at my notes and I've not noted one chance down by Maidenhead at all, which just shows, I think, the level of control Wrexham had in that match.
Yeah, it's some other players we haven't mentioned. For example, Sean Pearce, he said he was driving forward, he was winning the ball, and when your key players like that deliver, then it's, you have that core of your team playing well. It's hard not to feed off it and play off. Graham Barrows said on Monday that in the Fylde game there were too many passengers. It's the first time I've seen him really not hold back, and he wouldn't name individuals. We said 5 or 6 players didn't turn up, but I think all 11 starting players today definitely did, and the subs too, Young and as well, and in more fairness, Holroyd for his brief little cameo.
Yeah, to be fair, Holroyd, he came on in injury time. There was 3 minutes of it left, and actually had some nice little moments. Yeah, time wasting, but he won the corner well, and then at the very last action of the game in midfield, where he was in danger of losing out, and he battled ever so well to make sure there was no danger of that. So, a 14-man performance from Wrexham, and they should be really pleased. The drought is over, both in terms of goals scored and in terms of wins achieved, and Wrexham are back on winning ways. What a relief. The final score from Mark Griffiths and Colin Henrys from the racecourse then is Wrexham 1, Maidenhead United 0. We'll hand back to the studio. This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.